So this is my video on CEOs and executive directors of nonprofits. This is a two-part video, and thank you for coming back for part two. So in this part, I'm going to answer the following questions. Can a CEO and president be the same person? Who can fire the CEO of a nonprofit? Can the founder of a nonprofit pay himself? Should the CEO of a nonprofit be on the board? So let's just jump right in. So question one, can a CEO and president of the nonprofit be the same person? So let's do this. Imagine a chessboard with many different pieces, and nonprofit leadership has its own unique arrangement. Let's devolve into whether the CEO and president can occupy the same square. So in many nonprofits, the role of the CEO / executive director and the role of the of the president can indeed be held by the same person. However, it's important to understand that the titles can sometimes carry different connotations, responsibilities based on the organization structure and culture. The president as the board chair. So in some nonprofits, the president serves as the chair of the board of directors. And this lines closely with the governance structure. The president takes a leadership role in both the board level decision making and organizational management. So that's one thing. And then let's talk about the CEO, the executive director. They're really the leader, the executive leader. They, on the other hand, are typically responsible for the day-to-day operations of the organization, implementing strategies, managing staff, and ensuring the organization's programs and activities are carried out effectively. So what are the potential benefits of considerations of having the executive director and president be the same person? So this can lead to streamlined decision making and a clear alignment between the board and executive leadership. However, it's important to ensure that this arrangement does not compromise the checks and balances that are important for effective governance. And that's why you need to ensure that you have transparency. Now, nonprofit leadership structures can be flexible and adaptive based on organizational needs, but transparency and communication about the roles, the responsibilities, decision making is key to avoiding any potential conflicts or interest or any confusion, And why does this matter? Who cares, whether the CEO and executive director, president are all the same person? Well, understanding whether the CEO and president can be the same person in a nonprofit is important for clarity and leadership. It gives you guidance on how you want to do the roles and make an effective organizational management within your organization. So let's go ahead and hop there into number two. Who can fire the CEO of a nonprofit? So let's go ahead and get started with that. Imagine a relay race where batons are being passed. Leadership transitions in nonprofits have a similar dynamic. Let's explore who holds the baton when it comes to making the decisions about the executive director and CEO's role. To be straightforward, the board of directors. They really are the steering committee. In most nonprofits, the authority to hire or fire a CEO lies with the board of directors. They are the guardians of the organization's missions, and they hold the responsibility for making significant decisions about its leadership. And the board's role is to hire the CEO based on the needs and based on the strategic goal. They also have the authority to terminate the CEO and executive director's employment if necessary due to performance issues, ethical concerns, or even shift in the leadership direction. And the one thing that's really important is to be collaborative in a decision making between the CEO, executive director, and the board. The CEO's position often involves collaboration. The board may establish a special committee based on board members to handle transitions and ensure thorough evaluation. And that's really important is evaluation and performance. You need to imagine a periodic checkup. The executive director's evaluations are a vital part of the board's responsibilities. These evaluations help the board assess the CEO's performance and align with its organization's goals. So why does this even matter? Why is this even important? Understanding who has the authority to hire and fire of a nonprofit CEO or executive director sheds light on the government structure and accountability, and helps you know that whatever the executive director or CEO does, they do have someone that they have to report to, or a board that they usually have to report to show results, to show that they're doing what's best for the mission of the organization. So, you know what's next? Number 3. Can the founder of a nonprofit pay themselves? The answer to that is, it's a balancing act. Imagine juggling different elements in the air. Founders of nonprofits often need to balance their passion with responsibility and financial practices. Let's explore the dynamics of compensation for founders. A founder's compensation. So let's consider this. In many cases, founders of nonprofit organizations can receive compensation for their work. However, it's essential to navigate this carefully, adhering to legal and ethical guidelines. Think of compensation as a fair payment for the work and responsibilities performed by the founder. It should be reasonable and based on market value for similar roles within the organization. And therefore, you should avoid conflicts of interest. You should have a clear line and boundaries on what the founder's compensation is and what they should or shouldn't do. This ensures responsible financial management and avoids any conflicts of interest. And another thing you really have to keep in mind for is IRS regulation. Nonprofits must follow IRS regulations for compensation to ensure compliance. Excessive compensation can raise concerns about the private benefit. It can also jeopardize the nonprofit's tax exempt status. So you really want to stay on top of that because you don't want to lose your status. So you just have to make sure you have a clear distinction between the founder's role as an individual and their role within the organization. Compensation decisions should be made by a board of directors, or even better, they should create a committee within the board of directors to make such decisions on compensation of the founder. And why does this matter? Why is this important? Understanding whether a founder can pay themselves from a nonprofit funds is crucial for maintaining transparency and ethical financial practices. With my expertise, I hope you are able to learn and understand that. So let's transition on into number 4. Should the CEO of the nonprofit be on the board? So imagine a puzzle coming together, deciding whether the CEO should be a board member involving fitting different pieces of leadership. Let's explore the intricacies of this arrangement. So let's talk about some of the pros and cons or considerations. So one of the pros is there's a real alignment of vision. Think of alignment as a puzzle piece fitting perfectly. The CEO being on the board ensures direct alignment between the organization's leadership and its strategic vision. Another pro is efficient communication. Imagine a streamlined process. Having a CEO on the board facilitates efficient communication between the board and operational leadership. And another pro is real-time insights. It's like having a telescope right into the nonprofit, right into the operations, and it reveals insights. Board decisions will be informed by real-time updates and data by the CEO and executive director, ensuring informed governance. Now, some considerations or cons or things to think about is really independence. Can an executive director really be independent from the board if the executive director is on the board? Like, imagine a seesaw. A potential concern is the CEO's ability to really independently assess their own performance and their own decisions if they're also a board member. And what about role clarity? You really need to have clear boundaries, and the role of the CEO and the board member might overlap, but potentially blurring the lines of responsibility. And last but not least is a conflict of interest. Imagine a balancing act. Decisions that benefit the CEO's role may not always align with what's best for the organization as a whole. So you really should have balance. Nonprofit organizations often strike a balance by having the CEO/executive director attend board meetings without being a formal board member. And that's probably the best arrangement. That maintains clarity and it fosters collaboration between the board and the executive director. So why does this matter? Understanding whether the CEO of a nonprofit should be on the board reveals the complexity of leadership dynamics and governance. Let's go through it again. Can the CEO and president of the nonprofit be the same person? Technically, yes, but should they be? I don't know. Who can fire the CEO of the nonprofit? The board of directors. Or the committee on the board of directors that's over the governance of that. Can the founder of a nonprofit pay themselves? Yes, they can. They can have a salary. You just have to make sure it's reasonable and in line with the IRS guidance, legal guidance, and ethical. And should the CEO of the nonprofit be on the board? The answer is they can, but should they? Probably not, because it can really blur the lines, especially when it comes to independence. So stay tuned for more enlightening discussions in our upcoming episode. Until next time, remember, in nonprofit leadership, it's like arranging puzzle pieces to create a harmonious organization picture. Thank you.